when we opened our salon, first salon in 1993, like any city, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit, five, other salons. And so we couldn't outspend them. We had the three no's: no money, no customers, no employees. We couldn't outbuild a nicer facility. We couldn't outmarket them. We couldn't, out anything. But what no one did back then, salon industry or literally anyone back in the late 80s, early 90s, was have a customer or an employee experience. So that was something we said, all right, it was free and we could differentiate.
The Business Owner's Journey. I'm Nick Berry, and I've got real business owners telling their real stories, sharing their real lessons and strategies, so you don't have to figure it all out on your own. John DiJulius is considered the authority on world-class customer experience for businesses of all sizes, and he's been that authority for a long time, several decades. He's the best-selling author of 6 books on customer and employee experience, and what's so fascinating and unique about John is the approach that he takes to raising the level of customer experience through employee experience. John's a great guest. We had an awesome discussion. He's the man you want to hear talking about customer and employee experience. Enjoy. How did John DiJulius get here?
Accident, couple different accidents. Went to school for a marketing degree and wanted to be an entrepreneur. Didn't know what that was going to be, and opened a little hair salon for my wife. I wasn't going to be involved. And then we struggled with it. And so I had to get involved. And all of a sudden between us, she was this great, artistic, designer, one of the best in Cleveland and then I brought the marketing and customer service, part to it, which was kind of unusual in the early 90s in the salon business. And all of a sudden we just started taking off and exploding and opening more locations all in Northeast Ohio. And then I just thought, all right, we're going to do this for the next 30 years and, have a chain of salons maybe all over the US. And lo and behold, people started asking me to speak because of the noise we were making, the growth we were having. And this was mostly at that time in the mid 90s in Cleveland, where we're from. And I said yes, because I thought it was just good marketing. You'd attend it and then go buy your wife a gift card, right? I was like, I had no plan of pursuing a career in speaking or anything. And so every time I spoke, 2 or 3 entrepreneurs would come up to me after and say, can we hire you to come in and speak to our leaders or our staff? I had no idea what they were talking about. I didn't know that was a thing. So I started doing that a little bit on the side. It was like, more of probably of an ego thing than anything. And, who knows
what was it that you were saying that they were hearing and thinking like, this guy sees something different?
Yeah. So it was mostly about our customer service. And so I would talk about how, if you walked into our salon, and this was the title of my first book, Secret Service. And if you walked into our salon, you'd see 10 people getting a haircut, right? And 8 of those clients would be in a black John Roberts haircutting cape. 2 would be in a white haircutting cape, right? To you, a client, you would just think we have black and white capes. To anyone on our team, we knew that black capes meant you'd been here before, and white capes meant you've never been here before. So now anyone on our staff could personalize that experience. If I was walking through the salon and I saw you in a black cape, I'd go up, hey, welcome back, great to see you again. If you're in a white cape, I'd walk up and say, hey, I'm John, I'm the owner, or I'm Suzanne, I'm a nail tech. I hope your first experience here is everything. Can I get you coffee? Do you need a tour? Do you need this? Do this? And it would just blow people's minds. Our clients, But then we talk about how that could apply to the printer, or this could apply to the restaurant, or this could apply to, so little things like that just, kind of, blew people's minds. So I started doing that, a little bit, a few times a year. And then I wrote my first book, Secret Service, that came out in 2003. And up to that point, I was a salon owner that spoke a half a dozen times in Cleveland or in the beauty industry. But then the book came out, and haven't been involved in the salons ever since. I went, from a salon owner that spoke to a speaker that owned salons.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then you fast forward, whatever it is, 20 some years, and we have a big consulting company, and we work, and that's all I do. And so, yeah, kind of strange accident.
Yeah. I mean, so the What's the Secret is one of the, I'm sorry, I've read What's the Secret and Secret Service, and Secret Service was the first one. And that's the one that kind of got my attention, that it was like, oh, there's a different way to look at things than, like customer services can look a lot different than just throwing everything you've got at someone.
Yeah.
And I mean, admittedly, like I started out in information product marketing. So like it was, you just pile on as much stuff that didn't cost you anything as possible. Right. That was how we over delivered.
Like what? What do you mean? Give me an example.
It would look like tacking on bonuses. So the way that you would create more value in an experience was you would be, okay, we'll give this other guide, and we'll give another guide, and we'll give them this other thing that we created that's not going to cost us anything extra, and is kind of like fringe, even matters to them at the moment.
Yeah.
And so
they didn't know they wanted or needed it. And
right.
Yeah.
And we kind of like, so for me, cutting my teeth, it was kind of diluted my perception of like what is really meaningful to a person during their experience as they're going through it.
Right.
But to be able to walk up to someone and know that they have or have not experienced this before, and be able to communicate with them without having to like elicit that from them in the moment, like that's really different, right? That's very personal.
Yeah.
That's
right. And that's what Secret, it was personalize it. And to your point, I don't want that, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. Versus, it'd be like giving you, Voss water when you walked in to everyone. And you don't drink sparkling water. Gee, thanks. But, but if we paid attention, we know that you like, tea. And we had that in the notes that when you came in and we handed you your tea, kind of blow your mind. How did they know that I had tea? Did I have it the last time? So yeah, personalization and Secret Service.
Look easy.
Right.
Awesome that's the way that you looked at things. But how did that happen? Like, where did you have an epiphany, or what made you think about customer experience in that way when nobody else did that I know of?
Yeah, survival, necessity. So when we opened our salon, first salon in 1993, like any city, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit, 5, other salons. And so we couldn't outspend them. We had the 3 no's: no money, no customers, no employees. We couldn't outbuild a nicer facility. We couldn't outmarket them. We couldn't, out anything. But what no one did back then, salon industry or literally anyone back in the late 80s, early 90s, was have a customer or an employee experience. So that was something we said, all right, it was free and we could differentiate. So our objective from day one, we have these, when me and my wife would go out prior to opening a salon, and she was a hairdresser, we'd talk about opening a salon, and she would complain about how horrible her salon was. And, they that the owner treated customers. Like if you came in and said, I don't like my haircut, I think he'd throw you out. It was just like, absurd. They didn't take care of their employees. And she used to, she loved the industry, but she'd complain about, she'd say, my best friend Jennifer just quit I'm like, why did Jennifer quit? She loves doing hair. She's because she's just got married. They're having kids. She needs a real job that has benefits and vacations and health insurance. And the salon industry didn't have any of that. So we used to go out. We have this frame today, our business plan. And our business plan is so sophisticated. It's 4 or 5 cocktail napkins from when we were out at bars, because we were, in our early 20s. And we said, all right, if we ever open a hair salon, let's treat the customer really, really well. Like, not the most sophisticated words, but it was what we thought. And let's treat the employees really, really well. Let's give them stuff that, and so let's, give back to the community. And that was how we got started. So our plan was we wanted to be the best experience in your day. And over 90% of our clientele back then, and it's probably still close, is women, right? Let's be the best experience in her day. And the clarification, which was really key here, and I think this applies to your listeners, that we all get what we could do wrong as entrepreneurs, is we didn't want to be the best experience in the salon industry, right? Because how good we were compared to our competitors is kind of irrelevant. If your wife came in today for a 10 o'clock haircut, facial, manicure to our salon, she then didn't leave and go to our nearest competitor across the street, down the street, and compare and say, oh my God, John Roberts blows this away, or vice versa. She didn't need a hair salon for a few more weeks or a month or whatever. So how good we were compared to our competitor was kind of irrelevant. But where did your wife go before and after the hair salon? She had to, run errands, go to the grocery store, go to the dentist, meet her friend for lunch, all those things. And we wanted to, we call it the John Roberts hangover. Any place she went after just paled in comparison. That you, the receptionist at the doctor's office, she pissed her off because you didn't look up and greet her and smile and, all that. And you looked at your watch and said, your appointment was at 10 o'clock and it's 10:03. Right. And, that was our thing. And so too many people say we're the best accounting firm. We're the best printer in, I don't use any other accounting firm. So how would I know how you compare to other accountants? So it still is today. So that was really your original question is why and how. And it was just because that was the only thing we can compete on. Now, fast forward 31 years later, that's the only thing we still do. And I guarantee you, we spend the least on marketing and advertising, but we get more new clients every month than anyone because of, the wow factor. And then you're going home and talking to your spouse. You're going home and, telling your friends, you got to go to this place. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just kind of hit me when you were talking about that, how tightly aligned it is. So with just the philosophy as a whole, so I'll use the accountant as an example. You said, someone will say, we're the best accountant locally or whatever, in whatever market. But I already have an accountant. I don't need, I'm not worried about the other ones. Like, their message is about finding new blood, right? They're looking for they're talking to the person who's not with them yet. They're overlooking the people who are already working with them. It's kind of like the bank that offers a certain perk to customers.
Mobile, all these free phone, free this, free that. What about me? I've been with you 8 years. Screw you.
Right.
And,
Yeah. Like, you here, man.
Yeah. So, we wouldn't have to be hunting if we didn't have to replace so many. It's the hole in the boat, right?
Yeah.
And if we keep and retain our existing, they're going to produce us more new clients than any advertising ever could.
Yep. Yeah. But it doesn't work if you don't commit to it, right? If you're misaligned, if you're saying these things, what you're saying, but then what the message that you put out is still hey, new people will treat you better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, what has anything in your philosophy or your perspective evolved? Like, what's changed over the years?
I don't think it's evolved. I think so. I've written 6 books. The first 5 were all customer experience, driven, and inside there, we always talked about a chapter dedicated to the employee experience, which was critical. But the pandemic, I think, as everyone knows, the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, mass turnover, exodus, really uh, in a positive way put a spotlight on the employee experience and how they were being treated. So my latest book, The Employee Experience Revolution, is obviously dedicated to being better leaders. Uh, great companies help people live extraordinary lives, and their leaders help employees have meaning and purpose. And we could say we have 2 lives, personal and professional, but you can't, untwine them. And one of the leading there's a study in my book that talks about, they ask people what makes a fulfilling life, and fulfilling life, not personal, fulfilling life. And what blew my mind, the number one thing was a job they liked, like over relationship, friends, yada yada. So most of the world can't avoid working in their lifetime, and I think it's on us as leaders to make that a fulfilling experience, and meaning and purpose, and having them be happy with that. I mean, think of, and we probably know people, it might be our parents, it might be our grandparents, it might be that went through their whole life and just hated what they did, and that they brought that home. As
Mm-hmm.
much as they didn't want to, they brought that home, and they lived for Fridays, and Sunday around 6 p.m., they started getting grumpy. And, you can't. So I believe, leaders need to help people live extraordinary lives. And that starts with, liking, and feeling good about what they do.
Mm-hmm. So, what are maybe some symptoms if I'm a leader that I think that I'm doing everything right, or or maybe I just don't feel like this is that big of a concern? Like, what are some things that maybe should get my attention?
Well, your turnover rate, right?
Yeah.
Now you could sit there and say, yeah, well, in our industry, because we have, dock workers or assembly line workers or cashiers or people working at the, a convenience store or whatever. Oh, that's going to be high turnover to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean they're going to retire in that position. But are they happy? Are they engaged? Uh, there's obviously a lot of employee engagement, but I like just asking employees 3 questions. Answer this about your leader, your direct leader. Do they care about the company? Do they care about me? And do they care about my success? And just those 3 questions tell you everything you need to know. And so making sure that you're caring, you're recognizing, you're coaching, that you're looking them as a human first,
Mm-hmm.
and as a employee second.
Do you take the answers to those questions at face value, or is there some interpreting that needs to be done?
Well, there's always the you can explain, but a lot of people want to be careful because they want it to be unanimous. So let's just say you have 10 direct reports, and we're going to have those 10 people fill it out. And they're going to fill it out and do a better job if it's anonymous. So what we do is they're all 1 to 5, 5 being great and 1 being the worst. And then if the average score of those 3 questions are below a 4.5, we got work to do with you as a leader. And we got to also see where. So yes, he cares about the company. Yeah, give him a 5. Yeah, he's all about the bottom line and get work faster, harder. But when it came to, does he care about me and does he care about my success? Those were, in the threes, that now we can coach you if the company cares to.
Gotcha. So it's part of what you guys do then is getting in there and doing the research, doing the interviews, the survey and interviews.
Yeah. Well, they're not interviews. They're just like, it could be a survey monkey, right? Quarterly, but now we can hold something on you on what your team thinks. Now, if it's a one-off, your average scores will be high, and nothing to worry. Obviously, but if your average of your 10 people are 3.6, you got issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like the average of the people that work for you are giving you a relatively low score. Like if it ain't 4.5 or higher, it's unacceptable to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Care before coach.
And I'm just thinking about me or the hypothetical leader who is maybe telling themselves some lies about, why this is okay. Then they decide that, well, I'll ask these 3 questions. I want to be a better listener. So I want to hear what my team is saying. So I'm going to start engaging in conversations and trying to elicit some of this. How do I interpret? Am I able to interpret in those?
Here's the biggest challenge with leadership. There was a study that just came out, maybe a year ago, because we got it in the book, so it had to be at least a year ago. I forget the source, Wall Street Journal's Forbes. 82% of managers today are accidental. So accidental looks like this. Employee Nick, George, your boss, left. You have the most seniority. We're going to promote you to his position.
Battlefield promotion.
Right. And A, we don't even know if Nick wanted it, right? But B, let's say Nick wanted it, right? Besides just maybe the bump in pay, but we didn't prepare him. Nick on Friday went out drinking with his coworkers. Monday, he's leading his coworkers and is supposed to hold them accountable. We just set him up for failure. Mm-hmm. And it's such a reason why so many employees quit. And again, I'm not blaming Nick. I'm blaming the company because we threw Nick in the deep end without teaching him how to swim and expecting him to be an Olympic, swimmer. And so, there's so much to that of preparing leaders, developing leaders, saying, Nick, would you ever, before it happens, Nick, would you ever, you're crushing the job. Would you ever want to be a leader? Yeah, I'd be, well, here's some courses. Here's some, I want you to take now. We have some committees I'd love for you to be on. And now I can see if you're serious. Hey, how's Nick doing on that, project? Oh, man, he's there, he's into it. Or he was there one time and he hasn't been on it, and all right, that tells me Nick's not really serious. He's like, a lot of people are. That's fine. The other thing that is really interesting today about leadership, Nick, is for 1,000 years, leaders never had to worry about 2 things that they have to today, that no leadership course ever taught, no college degree ever taught. That today, every leader has to have this skill set, and it's really challenging for them. Leading from a distance, right? Virtual, work from home. We never had that before. So how do I keep my employees engaged who are virtual, who I don't see every day, out of sight, out of mind? How do I, motivate them? How do I, make sure that, they're not slipping, and, that's a huge thing. The second one that we've never, ever had to worry about before as leaders is how we have to worry about employees' mental well-being. That wasn't something, wrong, but 25, 50 years ago, pull up your socks, get your shit together. If you would even, if I even knew, but no one ever brought. Now employees now, and these are, I believe, silver linings of the pandemic. But now, it's okay to say, hey, I'm struggling. And as leaders, we're supposed to, recognize that
Yeah.
and coach to that. We are prepared for that, and maybe we shouldn't be, but so you have to teach yourself and you have to teach your leadership team what to look for. And now, maybe not and not necessarily every employee may be struggling, but someone in their family may be, which means you're struggling. And what resources can we give? And so those are two leadership skills that we have to help ourselves and our leaders become better at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, talk about recent. I mean, those are things that have changed just in my adult life, right?
And really accelerated coming out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So is that kind of the focus of the book?
The book is the Employee Experience Revolution, and so it breaks down. One chapter is the power of the purpose, and that's another silver lining of the pandemic is the importance of finding meaning and value in every employee. And again, I don't care if they're frontline, I don't care if they're garbage collectors, I don't care if they're janitors or they're consultants, lawyers, whatever. And just the power of purpose. And there's a study by the Shell Oil Company, and this will shock you. 89% of people who retire at 55 are more likely to die within the next 10 years than people that retire at 65. I'm going to say that again because it's shocking. 89% of people who retire at 55 are more likely to die in the next 10 years than those who retire at 65. Now, I repeat that because I want my employees to hear it. Don't retire. You're going to die. But it just shows you, again, the part that our what we do professionally plays in our lifespan, in our careers. So making sure that's a part. There's a chapter called creating the recruiting experience. And recruiting experience is important today, more than it's ever been. And here's why. 10, 15 years ago, if I heard your company was hiring, I'd apply, hope I get the job, right? Today, I'm going to apply at 6 different companies, maybe 6 different industries. Why? Because I know it's an employee market and I'm looking for the best deal. And the best deal is obviously whatever it is to that person. It might be, 10% more in pay. It might be flexibility, work from home, all those different things. And so it's different today. You're not just applying and hoping you get the job. You're leaving the interview with me and you're going to the next one. And so, our recruitment experience, the 3 objectives we want is 1, scare the wrong fit away, right? Like, don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste my time. Number 2, find who the potential rock stars are. And number 3, make those rock star candidates be dying to work for you, that they don't even want to go on the other interviews because they're like, oh my God, like, if I do go on another interview with another company, it pales in comparison. So what are we doing to make our recruitment, instead of telling you everything that everyone else tells you, oh, it's a great job, we take care of the customer, we take care of employees, if you do well, you get promoted, yada, yada, yada. So there's a recruitment experience, there's an onboarding experience, there's an employee experience, there's developing a future leader. So that's, the book covers a lot of things. It's really a leadership book.
Yep. Yeah, like I can tell you got every angle covered, which that's what it takes with people, right? Like you're not going to get to leave anything out. So I like the 3 objectives of the recruitment process in particular. You've always got like something unique that tactically that you use? Like, you got anything you can share about how do you do that third objective? How do you get them to die to want to work for you when you
Yeah.
find the rock stars?
Yeah. First, the first one is I want to scare you away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how we do that is we're not going to tell you, oh, Nick, and everyone that gets hired here, we sing Kumbaya, we hug, we get promoted, we get raises, we get fast tracked, and we're all going to be vice presidents in the next 6 months to a year. And I know that that's a broad stroke, but too many times it's too positive. We try to say, Nick, this is a freaking hard job.
Mm-hmm.
We expect you to be obsessive about the customer experience. We expect you, and we tell you this is what you're going to be graded on. This is good. Your retention of new client, your retention of this, and you're going to say, dude, you're a little crazy. I just wanted to answer some phones or do this. I'm dealing with it. That's fine, Nick. Good luck, and because we don't want in 3 months you to be looking for a new job and us to be looking for new people. Now jump over to Gim is talk about certainly like our interview processes is scare a lot of people away, and we want it to, but the ones it doesn't scare, now you're like, oh, I know. Like everything you're telling me, I know because my brother worked here. I have friends work here. I've been a customer. This is why I want to work here, is how good you are at customer experience, or, you're dedicated, blah, blah, blah. So now we're going to say, Nick, I want to introduce you to Eric. Eric started in the position you're applying for 16 years ago, frontline, yada, yada, yada. Today, Eric is a managing partner. Right. So I want you to see that this ain't a temporary transitional job that until you get a better, this could lead to something. We have several Eric stories. On the flip side, I want to tell you about, Denise. Denise started in the job you had, and we found out that her 5-year goal was not to be here, that she wanted to be doing this in a completely different industry and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? We helped her get there. One, working here was a great resume builder. Two, I actually introduced her to the company she's working for and recommended her. It kind of shows you two play. There's a career path, but it also, not everyone's going to retire from us.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to, it's not just about what's in the best interest of the company. If this isn't what you want to do, but while you're here, I want you to bust your ass and be what the company expects. But I'm also I'm fine with, helping you, build the qualities and resumes to get you to where you want to be. And if that's somewhere else, we'll help you. That is just as important. That story going viral is just as important as the Eric story, who, is a part owner. So things like that.
Oh, I could totally see that being even more valuable and
it is
a lot of people, because like that's truly walking the walk. Like you're telling me that you care about my best interest, but if you're willing to like invest in me, know it, and then let me go because of it, that's evidence right there. That's a tougher thing to do on
two more things I'll share real quick on this is we want to train the whole person, not just what's going to make Nick more productive, more efficient, and more profitable for the company. And so one of the things we offer our employees is we call it the 5 Fs. And the 5 Fs is correlates with most people's New Year's resolutions. Okay. Fitness, family, faith, fun, and I'm forgetting the 5th one, but you get it, right? So we'll just say, hey, by the way, next Tuesday, we have someone come into our company meeting that's going to talk about, money management, or how to buy your first house, or, this, or we have a Zoom call, or we have a book club about better parenting, or if you want to be on it, great. We bring in the resource, but those are the things that people brag about. more than, the harder benefits. And then the last thing I want to talk about is and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is we do an exercise with all our employees. It's kind of the 5-year, 10-year goal, is, and it's called Ikigai. Have you ever heard of Ikigai?
Only through following some of your stuff.
Okay. It's the Japanese meaning for finding your calling in life. And 4 things have to intersect for you to find your Ikigai. Number 1, what are you passionate about? What's going to get you out of bed in the morning? But a lot of people, you might like to play golf, right? Well, but you can't make money at it, right? You can't be in the top 3%. So do you know what a passion is that you can't be great at? Do you know what that's called? A hobby.
Hobby, yeah.
Right? Okay, so the second intersection has to be something you could be in the top 3% in, right? Now, do you know what something you could be great at, but you're not passionate about is called? A job, right? I'm an accountant, hate it. I'm a good accountant, but, I wake up every day and say in 18 more years and 2 days, I could retire. Right. Yeah. All right. So the 4 things, something you're really passionate about, something you could be in the top 3% at. Third one is something that someone's willing to pay you a good sum of money for. But the 4th one is really important, is it adds a positive impact on society. So we want to help people find their Ikigai. A lot of times we realize, all right, Nick, it's not what you're doing today for us, but we do have that. We're a big company. We have different subsidiaries. We can move you from this to this. And that's perfect. I'm glad you told me, because we were just about to go out and start interviewing for that. You'd be great. You're a great employee. We'll get you in that. A lot of times it's not with us. That's okay too. But that doesn't mean they're leaving tomorrow. And the real value of that is whether you work here for 2 years or 20 years, you're going to like working here, because again, it's about you, not just about what you could do for us.
So Lindsay's mentioned that you have a new academy rolling out. Is the new academy based off of this?
We've had the Customer Experience Executive Academy for 10, 12 years. And that's, kind of a master's degree in customer experience. If you're going to be a chief experience officer, that is a year-long part-time course where people come to Cleveland every quarter for 3 days for 4 quarters. Now, starting in December, we're the EXEA, the Employee Experience Executive Academy. Same thing for leaders. It's a year long. They come to Cleveland 3 days every quarter for a year, and that prepares them on all this stuff that we're talking about to be great leaders.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. John, I really appreciate your taking the time. I love your work. I mean, I've told you that.
Thanks, Nick.
Your book made a big impact on me quite a while ago. Right. Thank you for spending the time, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making us all better.
Thank you. My pleasure, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found the show valuable, you can say thanks and show your support simply by taking a quick second to like, share, and comment on the show. You can also find more information about each of my guests, all of the resources from the show, and myself at nickberry.info/TBOJ.